William is an art director by day. William Peterson explores the completely unplugged, non-digital world of ceramics by night. The interaction and balance of texture, symbol, color, color and sheen, and their transformation in the kiln drives his designs. I'm getting tongue-tied. I need a drink. I've been on the room too long today. So tell us about your current body of work.
So lately I've been doing some mosaic panels, and those generally, they explore kind of the relationship and interaction of texture and color and also sheen. So I work with a lot of different glazes and techniques. So my palette is kind of always evolving. And also the clay body, I think other people have mentioned this, that it reacts differently with glazes. So a white clay versus a Cassius clay or a black clay, it's going to give you two completely different results. So I'm always kind of I have new glazes all the time, and my studio mates, I'm kind of the testile guy because I'm always experimenting with new stuff.
Someone said they spy a Benjamin De La Rosa print.
Jeez, people, it's mine. Back off.
I know, he's great.
He is. Awesome. I actually work with Ben. So
okay,
hey Ben,
that was gonna be my next question. you must know him.
Yep.
Very cool.
Gosh, I should move it.
I know. I have a Jose Di Gregorio in my living room. That's always in my Zoom backdrop. So I'm in the kitchen today, so it has better lighting. You know how it is.
Yes.
So let's see. You're working on mosaic tiles, which it sounds like this may be in some ways COVID related. It sounds like everybody's sort of like challenged to have kiln time, and obviously you have a day practice that's not pottery.
Correct.
So how has your practice changed as a result of the pandemic?
Well, it's changed big time. I have a space at Marcia Schindler's studio, Clay Art 814. And when pandemic hit, studio closed. So I brought some clay home, I brought a few glazes home, and I carved out a little space on the workbench out near the garage. So I don't have tons of space, and it kind of forced me to experiment with black clay, which I mentioned before. It's Cassius clay. It's very temperamental, and you think you have a perfect piece, and then you put it in for its firing, and cracks emerge. So I kind of did I guess, trial by fire. Sorry for the pun. And I was really happy because I had a limited number of glazes that I brought home and a limited number of clay bodies. And some of the stuff that I did, I'm going to show, this is one of my COVID pods, and it survived the firing, and it kind of, the Cassius clay reacts with the glazes to give you kind of a volcanic kind of finish. And so it kind of reflected the anxiety that people had or have. And this is something that I'm kind of amazed actually worked. I did a few coronavirus pieces, and they survived.
Uh-oh, we lost.
Can you still see me?
There you go.
Oh, sorry about that. So these actually survived, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I ended up using basically a very similar palette throughout my COVID phase. And it just kind of reflects, you know, how everybody was afraid, and there's kind of this molten stuff coming out. So
it's those spikes, right? That get,
yep.
that's the spikes that get into the cell and attach. What are they attached to? The ACE2 receptor.
And they spew their sickness.
Yeah,
So,
and then they do
anyway,
their virus thing.
right. But I think it kind of encapsulated that time. So I'm kind of happy that I was able to like focus on that and create stuff that was so of the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like topical issues can influence your work, but what other what other things influence or inspire you?
I love Scandinavian design and a lot of mid-century stuff. I'm a graphic designer, so Ben De La Rosa or concert posters. I just love really nice design. So a lot of my pieces, whether it's the palette or the textures or the forms, kind of harken back to like a mid-century era type stuff. And then I have to say, my studio mates, Marcia Schindler earlier,
Yeah.
and my other studio mates, there's such a great energy at our studio, and I really miss that. During the pandemic, I've, you know, missed out on all of that. So
Do you guys ever do any like virtual chats or socially distanced meetups?
If I go into the studio, maybe to drop something off, we're all masked up, we're all totally safe. But
I assume I would never encourage anybody to not
right.
be safe, but I also think it's important for us to acknowledge that we have to, you know, take care of each other, and like, you know, we need to see our people. So
Yeah, and also to share, this is a glaze I've tried, and then somebody else is like, where did you get that? And so there's a lot of interplay there. So I really enjoy that.
that's cool.
I know you said you were an extrovert. I'm right on
am.
the borderline between intro and extro. And so I like my alone time, but I also really feed off of other people's inspiration and their creativity.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's funny. You know, you think you're extroverted until you meet someone who's really, really extroverted, and you're like, yeah, I'm not so
Yeah,
extroverted. But
exactly.
I live alone, and I think that, you know, if I didn't, I might feel differently. But I really rely on like my day-to-day activities for my social interaction, and so that's what's been really challenging. But
And you know, I just think this whole COVID experience has been so different for people who live alone. And I just think it's really tough for people. I have a yard, I have a husband, we have a cat. She doesn't talk a lot, but she's there. So there's lots of interaction, but I feel really bad for anybody who's kind of in their own world and they don't have that sounding board.
Yeah. We have a question. I appreciate that. Thank you. We have a question from Will. Who is this? I'm sorry. I'm trying to open up the chat on my phone. David wants to know what inspires your mosaics.
So I think this is a question we'll get to at some point, but I love to sit. I would always want the window seat on a plane. I think a lot of people do. And so I could sit, and if there was a video of a plane trip looking from the underside of a plane for 3 hours, I would watch it. And I'd take pictures of it too, because I just love the geometry and the unexpected things that you see when you're in a plane. And so a lot of my stuff is very much from an aerial perspective. So, oh, I happen to have one right here. And this is kind of early in my aerial stuff, but my early stuff was very literal. So this is actually downtown Sacramento, and you got the rivers. And I love the geometry, and also, again, the unexpected things that you would see on that. So I kind of take liberties with it, with whether it's color or the sheen. There's the Parkway. So that's kind of what I love.
And what keeps you motivated to keep creating right now?
The crazy thing is, so for me, and I think Marcia said this also, is I'm on a computer all day, and when I get a chance to get away from it, I want to get my hands dirty. I want to get them in the clay. And that totally inspires me, because you start with raw material and you can turn it into whatever you want. And it's not just the material, because then there's texture, there's staining that gives you an enhanced depth. And then the glaze, once it bisque fires, the glaze possibilities are endless. And I love glazes that I think a lot of people, when they think of pottery, they think of just super glossy, one solid finish. And I love these glazes that have so much texture and personality, and they break where it's thick or where it's thin, and you just see so much variation in it. And you could go on for a lifetime exploring new clay bodies, new glazes, new techniques. So that's what I love.
And so would you say that sort of exploration is the core of your process?
Yep. I'm constantly, it's funny because I'll look at something that I did 3 years ago, and I'm very harsh as a critic of it, because I feel like I'm constantly evolving, and no two pieces are really alike. When I do mosaic panels, it's usually 3 as a series. So they're all related, whether it's with the angle that the pieces are arranged, or textural shapes, or the glaze palette that I use. But the next time I do it, I'm always moving on to different, if I found a new glaze or whatever, I keep moving on. So I love that progression and that discovery. So
very cool. So speaking of discovery, how can people find your work these days?
Well, I learned from someone else earlier. I'm on Instagram. I don't have a website, and I kind of I just do this as a fun exploration for me. So it's my initials, WAP Ceramics, on Insta.
I follow you on Instagram.
You do?
I do.
Thank you.
Now I know if I have a face to go with the profile.
Yay!
Very cool.
And
so
I'll
you're
show
going to
you
be
one
doing...
of my...
Oh,
here's
cool.
one of my... This is a mega test file. Test files are usually just one color, but this is a red clay, and it kind of shows you how I could kind of pick and choose which colors I want to use on a piece.
Oh, I love that.
So,
and
like I'm sorry, you were gonna... Yeah.
You know, I knit, so you have to knit up a test swatch to see how the color, especially if it's variegated.
Yep.
So,
I can imagine.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I was gonna clarify that are you gonna do some lives this weekend, or?
I'll be over at Marcia's studio, or Clay Art 814. So yeah, I'll be part of that.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're wrapping up, and it was a pleasure to talk with you.
Same to you. Thank you so much.